Yeah, and I think that's it. Like, how do we really become comfortable in our own skin? And the answer is getting to know all the different parts of ourselves. Let's really start building substance in our character and not the what. So I know if you ask men, and I read this survey a little while ago, and they were asking men, what do you find most attractive in a woman? And funnily enough, it wasn't like boobs, butts,
Never is.
It's things like eyes. They want to connect with who you are. It's her having confidence.
Welcome to Two Women, Wine and a Dollop of Truth, the hilarious and insightful podcast that gets real with you about love, health, life, and celebrates what it really means to be a woman in today's society. Your hosts, Emily Chadbourne, relationship expert and creator of the Forever Love Formula, and Kelly Bowen, world champion athlete and creator of the Exceptional Living Model. Have a glass of wine or two and share what's really working.
Hey guys, and welcome to Women, Wine and a Dollop of Truth, the very, very first episode. I am your co-host, Kelly Bowen from Exceptional Living, and I'm here with my other beautiful co-host today.
Hello, my name is Emily, for those of you who don't know me, Emily Chadbourne, and I am the founder of That Crazy Thing Called Love. And super, super excited to be here on our very first episode of our brand new podcast series, Women, Wine and a Dollop of Truth. And talking of wine, have you got some in your hand, Kel?
I sure do. I have a beautiful gold-plated glass, and we're kicking the show off with a beautiful bottle of GHM Mum Vintage Champagne from 2006 from the, there we go, now we can see it for those that are watching us. Those that are listening, we'll put a photo up for you later. But from the Champagne region in France, it is Champagne. We thought, we are celebrating our two businesses. Crazy Thing Called Love and Exceptional Living have had a baby, so how do you celebrate something new into the world? It is with champagne.
Absolutely, wetting the baby's head. And I have to confess that actually today I'm just drinking tea, but I am doing it out of the most British teacup and saucer that I could possibly find. I made a little promise to myself a few weeks ago that I was going to take a little time away from booze, and unfortunately that coincided with us releasing this podcast. But I want to honour that promise that I made to myself. So for the meantime, I'm on tea, but I'm just as excitable as ever. So that's good for the viewers back at home. So Kel, let's get straight into this.
Yeah, and I did want to touch on that too. It's such a powerful message, Em, like you holding the standard of even though I know I'm doing something that's meant to be around alcohol, but I'm still going to be true to myself and really honour my commitment to myself and not give in to that pressure. I think it's a really powerful message that we're kicking the show off with, which is, I guess, it's exactly why we started doing this. Our clients were asking us for a place where they could be powerful. They could be free of the social pressures of what it means to be a woman in today's society and to be able to create powerfully. So, like some of the things we're being asked for is a place for women to feel supported in their growth, a place where, women can connect with other like-minded women on this journey because, and I'm sure you can relate to this too, Em, like some of our clients, and even I know at the beginning of my own journey, when I started stepping out into this space, my gosh, was it lonely at times.
Yeah, absolutely.
I felt like an alien in my social environment sometimes, and our clients were asking us for a space where, they can be with, I guess, through other aliens too, and connect and create like awesome. So we want to create that space for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's about having somewhere where you can be really complex and a little bit messy and be understood, or maybe not understood but accepted anyway, and where you can be all of your crazy. You mentioned earlier we've sort of smashed our names together and came up with Crazy Exceptional, and crazy is about the exciting high times in life and business when everything's going great and it's amazing.
Yeah.
And then crazy is also the times where everything's just a little bit shit. And I'm sorry, I'm just going to ask for permission here, Kel, because I've just realised we're about 2 minutes in and I've already
dropped
So
it.
just going to ask that Kel and I get very passionate listeners. So if we do swear, we are just going to ask that you laugh it off and shrug it off. It's never meant for offence. It's just our language, so just going to put that out there. Yeah, absolutely. It's about creating a space where you don't always have to be understood, and sometimes the crazy is really high and sometimes the crazy is really low. Sometimes it's just really shit. Sometimes life is just a little bit shit. Yeah. And what we want to do is step away from that regular personal development environment. We're coaches ourselves, but we also see a lot of coaches who are very much think positively and everything's going to be fine and take massive action and do it right now and
never have a bad day again.
If not them, then who? And, all that kind of stuff. And, actually, do you know what? Sometimes life's just a bit shit. Yep. And especially when you're going through a period and a change period and you're growing and developing, life can feel really overwhelming and it can feel really shit. And sometimes there isn't someone to hand immediately in your social circle or your family who gets that. And that's what this space is about. We get it. Yeah, we've done it.
Yeah, this is a place where you don't have to be glossy all the time. You can be all of your glory and all of your other bits as well, and you're here to be completely supported because it's in those other bits that's where the growth happens. And I think that's the part that really needs to be supported just as much as the being awesome equally needs to be celebrated. And I think it's really important that we've got a space for both.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what you guys can really expect from us moving forward is that we're going to have really real conversations. We're going to have real conversations about the topics that you want to talk about. We are going to open up discussion, not just between Kelly and me, but also you guys out there listening. And we also have a Facebook page, which we're going to talk about in a little while, where this discussion can continue, because this isn't just, we're not just here just to speak to you for an hour every other week or whatever it is, or every week. We want this to become a movement and a community where we can connect with you guys off and online. So really super excited about the Facebook page as well. We're going to talk a bit more about that in a minute. Yeah,
that's to come later. So, and this is a place for you to, in amongst it all and really figuring out what it means to be a woman in today's world, to find your voice and find your feet. I tried to mash them together. To find your feet and to find your voice and to have a cool place to do it. So, and I guess, which brings us into what we really want to talk to you about today. So today we want to talk to you about what it means to be fully self-expressed in your own skin, to feel completely confident and to really be able to own who you are. Because it's one of the biggest challenges as a woman, and again, it could be wild sweeping generalization, but us really defining who we are and standing at a place of powerful creation, as opposed to a space where we're just taking on bits and pieces because we don't know better or because we felt social pressure. So today it's, what does that really mean?
Yeah, absolutely. What does it mean to be a woman and to be all of us? Because I think, there's no denying that society has changed really rapidly for women, thankfully, in the Western world in the last 5 decades. It was only in the 1950s where really women didn't have huge amounts to say. There wasn't a great presence in the workforce. We were still sort of chained to the kitchen sink. And then if you rewind back 50 years before that, we didn't even have the vote. We were second-class citizens. So I think collectively as women, we are still trying to find our feet in today's modern society, and we're still looking for role models and archetypes, and I'll explain what an archetype is in a minute. We're still looking for that. Well, collectively, how do we stand? And unfortunately, at the moment, it feels very fragmented. And I feel this because I see it on social media, women just tearing women down all the time. And while we're doing that, we are weakening ourselves as a collective. We are weakening what it is to be woman.
Yeah.
And I think part of what you and I are doing here, Kel, is that
strengthening that.
We really want to strengthen that bond of women, for women, behind women, celebrating women. Part of that is going to be looking really deep into, well, what does it mean for me to be a woman individually in and amongst this collective?
Yeah, and I think a really good place to start looking at how we've got how did we get to the problem of, we're not feeling comfortable in our own skin. And I think for us to really figure out where that come from is we've got to go back to the very beginning, back when we started to evolve beyond our Neanderthal days to where we really turned into Homo sapiens. And what was the thing that had us survive evolution as opposed to everything else? And it's the difference, and this particular thing is the difference between men and women. So back then, think back 10,000 years ago, we weren't the stronger sex, and we're certainly not the stronger sex now. However,
physically no.
Physically no. But if you're looking at pure physical structure, we're not. So we had to create some kind of other special gift that would allow us to be safe in those, 10,000 years ago, there'd be somewhat hostile environments. It's not like they'd be living in beautiful houses with heating and stuff like we do today. But for us to survive and make it through that period so that we could get to where we are now. And the thing that I think this particular thing, I call it our gift and our curse. And what it is diffused awareness. So diffused awareness means that as a woman, we've got this beautiful gift to be hyper aware of our environment. We know everything that's going on in our environment. It's why it's, parents say, I've got eyes in the back of my head. Like, mum always knows what's going on with her child. She is so aware that the child could be playing in the lounge room and you can have the stairs over by the kitchen and she will have already known 10 steps and been able to preempt the child's behaviour to get the gate shut in front of the stairs. But it's not, and it's because she's got this thing called diffused awareness, which allows her to be so much aware of her environment. And essentially what it means is, as women, our environment's constantly communicating to us. It's telling us who we need to be in an environment to keep ourselves safe. And if you look back 10,000 years ago, the way that showed up was we needed to be safe from the tiger. So we had to, one, be aware of our environment enough to know where the tiger is. And secondly, we had to be aware of the people in our environment that were protecting us from the tiger and keeping them happy. Which is why it was 10,000 years ago, the life and the connection between men and women, I'm sure you can expand on this far greater than I can, but the connection there was really simple. Women, we had really simple roles. We kept, like, back on a primal basic survival level, the three things that we were needing was sex, shelter, and food. It was our job to procreate, because if we weren't able to provide sex, then we wouldn't evolve as a species. We did all the gathering with the food and nurturing of the tribe and keeping the tribe together. So, and then the men's job was to protect the women and bring back the meat. Like, it was really quite simple. However, we've evolved so much since then, yet we've still got this diffused awareness thing going on in our environment, constantly telling us what to do. So when we see things in the media, like magazines telling us this is what you need to look like, we buy into it. Then, we think, and the other thing with this diffused awareness is women respond to criticism. If you criticize a woman enough, she will change her behavior. And then we go try and do the same thing with men and wonder why he thinks we're nagging. Because you can't change a man's behavior through criticism. But with women, because we're constantly assessing, are we safe, criticism means not safe, we bend and mold. So the first thing is, in terms of really being comfortable in our own skin, is understanding that we've got to, like, our human animal brain is constantly going, are we safe? Yet now, 10,000 years on, we're in a time where it's not about safety anymore, where there's no big tiger outside the door, and we can equally do all the things that men can. And what we're wanting is something different. We're wanting more emotional strength and emotional support from men as opposed to physical things. Yet, because of that, we can stand and create powerfully and partner as wholes. But we've got to heal this first, and we've got to become aware of it, so we stand in our human thrive brain as opposed to our human survival brain. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think you've raised a really great point there. And I think as women, what we're constantly doing is we're being shaped. And we are very malleable. The feminine energy is very malleable. It's fluid. It's just like the ocean. It's absolutely glorious and totally beautiful. And I think quite often, what you're saying about diffused awareness is we are inherently designed to mold and flow with our environment. And sometimes what that does is it means that our boundaries aren't particularly strong in today's society. We no longer need to take care of the pack, do what the man says. We don't need him for protection. We don't need him for food.
No.
At all. Doesn't mean we don't need him. We just need him on a different kind of level now. And I'm not quite sure that we've necessarily caught up.
No, I don't think so either. But even if we look at, in the last 50 years, things have changed so much so rapidly for us. And all of a sudden we've been given, we wanted equal rights. We got them. And then we thought for us to be powerful, because our only model of power was men, a lot of women, like it shows up, women, we've taken on masculine qualities and we've dumped and rejected the feminine part of ourselves. We've made that mean weak and vulnerable. Yet these are the things that make that when we embrace these qualities and we develop them, they're the things that make us women of strength. And it's different from a strong woman. So
yes, very different.
And it's all about nurturing that self-love and nurturing that feminine parts of us so that it comes out powerfully.
Yeah.
And our vulnerability becomes our strength.
Yeah. And I think that's really great a great starting point for this, certainly for episode 1. And now I guess the question is, well, how do we do that? It's all very well sort of saying, well, you know, because of diffuse awareness and having a little bit of understanding about maybe how or why we are the way that we are in today's society, but now how do we change it to move forward and to evolve to the next level, and to really gather the strength that is our energy and use it in a great, awesome way, as opposed to, it feels like we're still sort of toddlers and just still trying to work out what this power thing is, and how it works, and where it fits, and how we can harness it in a beautiful way that means that we're not emasculating men at the same time. And I think one of the most powerful tools that I've used in the past, and that I encourage my clients to use on a day-to-day basis, is archetypes. And I referred to the word archetype a little bit earlier, and I think now would be an awesome time just to run through what an archetype is and how we can use archetypes within ourselves in order to really be the malleable energy that we are, and to be cool with it.
Yeah.
So let me give a little bit of context about even what an archetype is to begin with. So a typical archetype is the typical joker. The moment I say to you, Kel, oh, my brother, he's such a joker, instantly you know what kind of person he is.
He's a funny guy.
He's a funny guy, he's a bit slapstick, he's a bit fumbly, he doesn't take life too seriously. Yeah. It's almost like a stereotype. So an archetype is a little bit like that. It's a part, or a certain part of me is an archetype. So I have lots of different archetypes within me. I always say, come on, girls. I call them my girls. Me and my girls. So I am Emily, complete and whole as I am. But within me, I have different parts of me that I bring out depending on my environment. So again, really using diffused awareness as something that we can harness and something that's awesome. I'm really aware of my environment as a woman. Brilliant. So who do I need to be in this particular context in order to get the most, or to get the outcome that I want, or to make the people around me feel safe and secure, whatever it might be. Now, I'm going to talk really quickly about my 3 main archetypes that I use on a day-to-day basis. So I have Ballsy Bertha. Now, Ballsy Bertha, she comes out when, for example, I've got a deadline to meet. So let's say I've got a marketing campaign going up with that crazy thing called love, and it's got to go up at 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. But my IT department are dragging their feet. I'll call my IT department. I'll be like, hi, John, how you doing? Ballsy Bertha comes out. Because Ballsy Bertha, she's not rude. She's still me. She and I share the same values. But she's going to have the sort of conversation whereby she says, all right, John, do you know what? We agreed on a timeline. The timeline is 5 o'clock on a Friday. For whatever reason, you're unable to meet that timeline. What are we going to do about it? Because it's still my timeline. It's still happening. So what do we need to do in order to create that outcome? Ballsy Bertha's got a fair amount of masculine energy in her. And do you know what? I kind of lived in Ballsy Bertha in my 20s when I was working in London. I needed Ballsy Bertha to survive in the boardroom. I was surrounded by men most of the time. I needed her. I needed to match that masculine energy. So Ballsy Bertha and I, you know, we know each other very well. I then also have Maternal Martha. Now, I'm not quite... So Maternal Martha I've had to work with a little bit. She's not my natural go-to. I'm not naturally maternal, but I know that I need to step into her. I need to step into that character. It's still me, still the same values as me, still the same values as Ballsy Bertha. I need to step into that role whenever I'm around my nieces and nephews, for example. Or let's say my friend is particularly sick and she's having a really terrible time and I'm going to go over and make her feel better. I'm taking Maternal Martha with me. I'm not taking Ballsy Bertha. I'm not going to walk in there and be like, come on, up you get, let's have none of this. I'm going to go in and I'm going to sympathise that her life's not feeling great for her right now. Now, whenever I go out on a date, whenever I'm hanging out with a guy that I might fancy a little bit, I bring out Sexy Susan. And Sexy Susan isn't, ooh, sexy Susan. She's not a tart.
I so wish the people listening could have seen that. That was brilliant.
Oh, yeah, sorry. If you didn't see that, I was just doing the boobs thing where you...
The boob wobble, it was great. Together. It was awesome.
Sexy Susan isn't about being a tart. Sexy Susan is still me, still my values, still the same values as Bertha, still the same values as Martha. It's just that she is the archetype inside me, which is a bit more sexual. She has a different type of language. So she will say to a guy on a date, hey, that suit makes you look really hot. Whereas Maternal Martha would say, oh, you look really cute in that suit. I'm not taking Maternal Martha on a date with me. I'm taking Sexy Susan on a date with me. same me. Now, the reason I keep referring to the fact that it's the same me, same values across all four of us, is that as women or as people, we are programmed to look for consistency. And I hear this quite a lot when I talk about archetypes. Women say, oh, but I don't want to look like I'm a different person. I want to be the same person as I am, and I shouldn't have to change myself. It's not changing yourself. It's about bringing forth a certain aspect of yourself that, according to diffuse awareness, we need in that particular environment at that particular time.
To thrive in the environment.
To thrive in that environment. Beautifully said, thank you. And here's the thing about consistency. We're wired to look for it. We value consistency as human beings. And again, we can go back 10,000 years to work out why. We are pack animals. And in exactly the same way that we need to be loved, we need to belong, we need to be enough to stay in the tribe. In order to be in the tribe, we need to be in the tribe, because if we're not in the tribe, we die.
Yeah.
If we were kicked off the island, if we were kicked out of the tribe, if we were no longer part of the pack, a saber-toothed tiger would come along and eat us, because physically we're not strong enough to survive on our own. We could only ever survive as a collective. So we're looking all the time, can I trust you and can you trust me? Because if you can't trust me, it's as dangerous as me not being able to trust you. So to build trust, we look for consistency. Now, here's the thing. We come from nature. Unless you're a Scientologist, in which case potentially you should be listening to a different podcast. But we come from nature. And nature is not consistent.
No.
Nature changes and it moves and it shapes all the time. We try and be consistent by saying there's 365 days in a year. But even with that, we have to whack on an extra day once every 4 years. To make that happen. Nature is not consistent. There are some things which are. We know we're going to live. We know we're going to die. We know that the sun is going to rise and we know that the sun is going to set. We know that the tide is going to come in and the tide is going to come out. Other than that, nature really is not that consistent.
No.
But those consistencies are what keep us alive. The sun coming up, the sun going down, the world rotating, revolving, whatever it is. And that's where we can be consistent as people in our values. And it's important that we're consistent as people in our values. So what Bertha values and what Martha values and what Susan values are my values. And what I mean by value is I really value respect. I really value gratitude. If I am grateful and people are grateful, my life is good. Now, everyone has different values and some are more important to some people than others. Now, I really, really value respect and gratitude. So even when I'm being ballsy Bertha, I'm never rude. Because if I was rude, it would rub up against my values. And then I'm acting. Then I'm playing a part. And that's not what archetypes is about. It's about taking a bit of you. And sometimes you need to work a little bit on these bits. I had to really work at maternal Martha. I did. I had to work at sexy Susan. She didn't come naturally to me. I had to embrace her. I had to find her. I had to nurture her. I had to bring her out of me. And that has been a really awesome process. Ballsy Bertha, she was blooming easy. I lived in that for a really, really long time. And for a long time, that was the reason I wasn't having a successful relationship, was because men don't want to date ballsy Bertha.
And I think I really like that. And these particular archetypes, we do have to develop them within yourself, because when I'm working with people on their health and being being a health coach, I see these things as well. And there's certain aspects of a person that for them to be able to have the physical body that they want, and the biggest thing when it comes to body is not what the body looks like, it's feeling completely comfortable and expressed in it. It really comes like the feeling good naked. And, you touched on a little bit about developing the sexy Susan. Like there's a whole journey into that where there's vulnerability and there's power. And it's almost like the two go hand in hand in really developing that and stepping into it. And it is a journey. It's a really fun journey. But these are parts of ourselves that I was watching Kung Fu Panda last night, and there's Kung Fu Panda number 3. I'm going there. I'm comparing this to Kung Fu Panda number 3. But in Kung Fu Panda number 3, and I hope I'm not ruining the story for anyone, and if I am, I apologize, but it just fits so perfectly here.
I'm Are you sure that the ladies out there listening are not going to mind if you plot spoil Kung Fu Panda 3 for them?
Well, yeah. But anyway, but in Kung Fu Panda, this particular one, he has to become a chi master. And they said the master before him became a chi master because he sat in a mountain for 30 years asking themselves, who am I? Asking himself, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? And of course, Po, the Kung Fu Panda, didn't have 30 years to go sit meditate on his navel on a mountain and ask the question of who am I. He had he had a short amount of time because the bad guy was coming to kill his people and take over his village. And then there's this beautiful scene at the end where he actually steps into all of him, and you see him, he's like, who am I? He's like, I am the dragon warrior. I am the friend. I am this. I am that. And then till he, the overall thing of who he really is, he is who he is. And it's not, and he's accepting all the parts that collaboratively make him him. And without any one particular part, he loses him. But he's on this beautiful journey developing all these different archetypal aspects of himself before he actually gets to full, I'm all of them. I'm none of them and I'm all of them.
Yes, you are none of them and all of them at the same time. I am not just sexy Susan.
No.
Nor am I just ballsy, but I'm none of them. As Emily, I'm not one of them. But as Emily, I'm all of them.
Yep.
So you are none and all of them at the same time. It's a bit of a strange concept, but
yeah.
Hear what it's saying, sister. So I guess this then, so we've talked about the problem being that we're not really sure who we are as women, and that we are kind of fighting against ourselves sometimes about, well, should I be this person or should I be this person, or should I be this aspect of me or should I not be this aspect of me? And, how do we actually start being okay and complete within ourselves individually so that we can be complete within womanhood collectively? And archetypes has been a fantastic way. It's such a great strategy to use in order to really get in touch with the different aspects of yourself and to use diffused awareness to be able to know, which we have naturally, to be able to know when they're appropriate and when they're not appropriate, and when to mold to our environment, and when that's appropriate, and who to use in terms of your archetype depending on your environment. Now, how do women develop these archetypes? It's all very well for me to say, go off and find your sexy Susan, but what does that mean?
And just before we jump into that, if any of you heard a cat meowing in the background, it's just my little cat Nala saying hello. So she does like to be part of everything, so if you did hear a cat, you're not going crazy. There was a cat in the background. I do apologise. But yeah, I love that question. How do we develop this? And particularly, like if either the sexual part of your being has been asleep for some time, or you may not have even really tapped in, how do you wake this up? It's such a great question. Or if you feel like you're missing the person that shows up as your strength and has your back, how do you engage ballsy Bertha? And what about the one where, like, if you feel like being the feminine part of yourself is really uncomfortable for you, like if it is a weakness, how do you invoke the vulnerability part of yourself to step into that? I think it's a great question, Em.
And I see it so often with my clients. I work with awesome women who are either in relationships and want to make them better, or who are, going back into the dating world. Sometimes some of my clients are going back into the dating world having had their families, and it can feel really, really overwhelming. And a lot of them have been single parents, and to be a single parent, you have to be lots of very strong archetypes. You have to be ballsy Bertha, and you're paying the bills, and you're doing all this, and you're doing all that, and completely forget.
You've got to be mum and dad.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And part of that, I often see that they are disconnected from that feminine part of themselves, that vulnerable part of themselves. It's that got to be strong, got a full-time job, raising 3 kids, paying all the bills, got my own mortgage, doing this completely on my own.
Yeah.
So where is, how do they then, it's all very well for me to say, you need to go and learn to be vulnerable, babe. But unless you know the strategy behind going and doing that.
Yeah, thanks. That's great advice.
Yeah, great advice, thanks.
Thanks.
It's like saying to somebody who's getting soaked by the rain, you need an umbrella, mate. And then just carrying on walking.
Where the fuck am I going to get one of them from right now?
That's fucking great advice. Okay, so, yeah, absolutely. So to develop an archetype, I always say the first thing you should do is to go and find someone who is doing it the way that you would want to be doing it yourself.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's not about stalking down, a celebrity and like camping in their grounds. It's about, I don't know, following a celebrity on Facebook, or potentially reading their autobiography, or watching their TED Talk, or just hanging out with them online, like what have they written, what have they talked about. I know when I very first started out in business, I started hanging out with entrepreneurs. I hung out with Richard Branson whenever I got the opportunity. I was on Tony Robbins' back like you wouldn't believe. I was even the Carmen's woman. I watched this amazing TED Talk by the woman who did Carmen's biscuits. I think her name is Carmen. You know, like she does like the nut bars and stuff and the muesli bars.
Yeah.
And watching her, you know, listening to how what she did and how she did it, and the attitude, who it was that who she had to be to go on that entrepreneurial journey and to get through the tough bits and to stand back up after a perceived failure. I hung out with those people. I watched what they did. I heard the language that they used. And I started to gather the bits that I really loved about them and started to mold that into my value set and create my own archetype. Entrepreneurial Ellie is the girl that gets shit done. She has these wonderful ideas, and then she creates a strategy so that she can obtain them.
Yeah, I think that cut out a little bit just then, just in case it did. Can you repeat Entrepreneurial Ellie?
Entrepreneurial Ellie is an amalgamation of all these people that I have been looking at and I have been following and I have been modeling. I've gone, what is it that you did to create success in your life? What parts of that do I feel are appropriate to me in my life? And, you know, wove my values into that and created Ellie. And Ellie she's sharp, she's smart, she gets shit done. She sees she has an objective, she creates a benchmark, and she works towards it. So she is the driving force behind my business, behind the business part of my business.
Yep. And this is the really fun part about archetypes, is that you can, like as you said, find the people that are getting the result that you want and take out the best part of their essence to develop within yourself so that you can have the same result. Like there's one that I've been following at the moment who I just adore, and it's Delta Goodrem. I think that
you told me about.
I know, I'm totally clutching on Delta Goodrem at the moment, like absolutely shameless.
Just explain to the listeners, Kelly called me up the other day, and I called her actually, I think, and she picked up the phone, and she didn't even say hello, she just went, oh, I've got a total girl crush on Delta Goodrem. So Delta, if you're out there and you're listening, or if anyone knows Delta Goodrem, please come and do a guest spot on our podcast, because Kelly would melt down.
I don't think I'd be able to talk. I think I'd be that silly, you know, the celebrity starstruck thing. You're like, it would definitely be funny to see. But what I love about her, so I guess, me thinking, me being like a health coach and what I do with my people, there's one of the biggest things that I really like to bring to my business is heart. And I stand by my people so strongly. Like I will go to war for them. Everything that I do is about showing up for them and believing in them and letting them borrow my belief in them until they believe it themselves and they can get the results themselves. And what I'm loving so much about Delta Goodrem is that she really is a woman of strength. She is so beautifully feminine, yet she is so powerful. And the way that she shows up for her people on The Voice and the way that she coaches them and mentors them, like she's got this beautiful vulnerability about her, but this beautiful strength. She holds them when they need it and she kicks them when they need it, and like they're getting phenomenal results. And just the person that she is, and there was a couple of years back, I think when she started The Voice, she went through a lot of shits. Like they were calling her ditzy and all the rest, but she's just the way that she handled herself in it to come through where she is now, like the own characters within herself that she's had to develop to get to that. I think she's a beautiful model in terms of like really embracing feminine essence in a powerful way. Because I know we were speaking earlier about it's because of going through all these changes. One of the big fragments that we're experiencing is that as women taking on the male qualities, because we think that's what strength is, we now emasculate men quite easily. Like when the ballsy Bertha comes to town, oh, look out.
She wears literally balls as earrings.
Yeah. But this is, so we haven't created, I don't think there's enough like strong, vulnerable feminine archetypes that are showing their feminine strength as opposed to masculine strength. And when I see people like that, I really admire them because there's beautiful essences within them as my own woman that I want to take on and develop within me even more, because she's just so beautifully comfortable in her feminine.
And for me, it was when I first started connecting back to my femininity, and when Susan and I kind of Susan rocked up in my...
Yeah, Susan's we're cutting out a little bit.
She is. Oh, okay.
Yeah, hold on. Go back. We cut out.
Oh, okay. So
Sexy Susan.
When the person that really enticed Sexy Susan out of me was actually Marilyn Monroe, because I think because I had spent such a long time in corporate, and I was fighting masculinity with masculinity.
And it doesn't work.
And it doesn't work because it's not natural to me. Yeah. It's mine. I am feminine, and I am woman, and I am, diffused awareness, all that stuff. I am all of that, and I think, and I see this in the world all the time. I'm a massive believer, massive listener of a British program, BBC Radio 4 Women's Hour, and it's very much about, why have we not got more women in the workplace? And I completely agree, but I do think one of the problems is that we are fighting masculinity with masculinity, and what is a much more powerful way of asserting our power and our energy and our consciousness is to go in with what we've got inherently and to learn how to nurture that. And Marilyn Monroe really did that for me. She, for me, is a perfect example of how to use what we have, which is sexual energy, and it's a quiet, calm confidence that she had, and it's not manipulation. And I really want to hammer that home. This is not about going out and manipulating. It's just about being malleable around the environment that is showing up for us at any given time, and knowing what part of us to bring forth. And she did that very well. She does that very well in the same way that Delta Goodrem does. It's about being fluid.
It's beautiful. It's not leaky sexual energy. What I mean by leaky sexual energy, I think I'm sure we've all been around someone that when we've been around them, their sexual energy has been a bit leaky, and they felt kind of sleazy and a bit slimy. But this is actually owning. It's a completely different space of, rather than just throwing it around everywhere and attracting anything that'll attach to it. This is also, it's more embracing it and owning it. There's more of a knowing in it as opposed to just having it all over the place, if that makes sense.
It's not giving sexual energy, it's owning sexual energy, and there's a massive difference. So I think, this is certainly something that I always encourage my clients to do, and I think it would be really awesome for the listeners to do, is, you will probably, over the last sort of however long we've been chatting now, have thought to yourself, oh yeah, I could do with really working on drawing out this quality of myself, or this aspect of myself, or this archetype within me. And so I think absolutely I would encourage you to find somebody who already personifies that, and then go and hang out with them. So read their books, watch their YouTube videos, whatever it might be, watch them perform on stage, whatever it is, and really start looking at what it is that you want to model, that you think is going to, that doesn't sit so far away from you that you have to become someone else.
No,
but
that's a very...
that it's already part of you, and that you can draw out or enhance or work on, whatever it is and start really building a person around that. Susan is lots of different people. There's a bit of Audrey Hepburn in her, because I happen to think she's the most glorious human being on the planet. But and her work, all that kind of stuff, phenomenal. And for some people, bits are going to merge. So my vulnerable part and my sexy part have really begun to merge recently, because I see now that they can't be mutually exclusive in my world, in my life.
Yep.
So, some of these archetypes come out in pairs and sometimes in trios, and that's cool as well. It's not just I am, this or this. It's not compartmentalized. It's very fluid. Yeah. And bits bits of me get turned up and bits of me get turned down, depending on my diffused awareness, which tells me this environment is requesting this of me right now.
Yep.
Put ballsy Bertha to bed and lighten up a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's it. Like, how do we really become comfortable in our own skin? And the answer is getting to know all the different parts of ourselves. Let's really start building substance in our character and not the what. So I know if you ask men, and I read this survey a little while ago, and it was they were asking men, what do you find most attractive in a woman? And funnily enough, it wasn't like boobs, butts, it's things like eyes. They want to connect with who you are. It's her having confidence, her knowing who she is. There's
nothing more attractive than a smile. Nothing more attractive than a smile, and not a hi, look at me smile. It's in a sure.
It's a smile that comes from the heart.
Yeah, I am cool with myself. You do not have to fix me, but I have a need for you in my life.
Yeah, because I want to amplify with you. I want to, magnify what's already going awesome. So it's rather than let's stop getting caught up in what all the media is telling us to be as women, and all the magazines and the airbrush things and all the photoshops, and let's start building substance. Let's find some feminine models that we admire for various different reasons, and ask ourselves, what is it about this particular person I'm really admiring? And how do I develop more of that within me? So you're continually building substance within your own character. And I think this is the beautiful place of where this is where we become comfortable in our own skin. And it's getting to know all the different parts.
You like.
Yeah.
Sorry, I spoke over you then, Kel.
Go for it.
I was just saying, this is where we become the person that we like. Now, that's not to say that I like every aspect of myself. There are some bits of me that are ridiculous, and if you've ever seen me in a meltdown, it ain't pretty, but that's okay. That's my version of sometimes there's a bit of a crazy bit of me that is a little bit, I just can't do this anymore, life is hard, and that's fine. And because there are other days when I'm not like that, I'm a completely different version of crazy, and a bit more like, everything's amazing, oh my god, this is awesome. And sometimes I'm somewhere in between. The pendulum swings, nothing stays the same. The world is continually changing, and we are as well.
Yeah.
And that's awesome and cool, and we've created this space for the viewers and the listeners to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So my overarching advice from this episode is go and hang out with the women that you admire. Go and look at what they do. Go and see how they speak. And it's not necessarily that you have to go and become any one of them. We're not telling you to go and be someone different. We're saying really start nurturing the parts of yourself that maybe need a little bit more attention, and start being really malleable and really fluid about moving through those characters inside you and being okay with that.
Yeah, beautiful. I love it. And guys, we want to continue this conversation with you. I think that there's a little bit of intention that, with every podcast, this is the beginning of a conversation. We want to take it to the next level with you. And the way that we've set up an environment for you to do that is we've created a Facebook group for you. It's called Women, Wine and Dollop of Truth Hangout. It is on Facebook. There will be links somewhere around this that you will be able to connect with.
I literally go onto Facebook and put Women, Wine and Dollop of Truth, and you will find our page.
Yeah, we'll come up. Or if you find either me, Kelly Bowen, or Emily Chadbourne, you will eventually find your way there. But so we've created the Facebook group. Now, we want you to come and join us. We want you to come and be part of this. Now, please get that if you are joining us in the group, we're assuming that you're there for growth, which means that if there's something going on, and our goal is to support you and help you and give you all the no fluff strategies to get you from where you are to where it is that you want to be. And our comment is all about growing to help you grow. It is not to come have a pity party and get to that. Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes crazy happens. The sky's falling. Let's embrace that. But from the place of, this is where I'm currently at and this is where I'm stuck. I'm wanting a solution, not
I'm coming just to bitch and moan about my life.
Yep. That won't last.
We're not the group for you. There are groups out there like that. Rock on. But that's not what this group is about. Yep.
We're all about growing and we're all about moving forward. So please come over and join us, because this is where we want to connect with you. Not in a, hey, like my post kind of way, but I really give a shit about you kind of way. That we want to connect with you.
And there is a massive difference between those.
There's a huge, massive difference. And we also wanted to, use the Facebook group to drive more conversations about more of the things that you want us to talk about. Because it's all well and good for Em and I to sit here and go, hey, this will be a really cool topic. But if it doesn't mean anything to you, then, you know, it means jack to the spot. So we want to create this with you. And as I love the way that you say it, Em, a movement of women for women, and not the feminist powering kind of shit. It's like, let's dump that. This old world, we've been doing it. Let's create something different. Let's create powerfully so that we can come together and partner with men as a team. And not just that, partner with ourselves as women, as complete wholes, you know, rather than our differences being the things that have us criticize each other. Stand and celebrate them, because when we stand as complete wholes side by side, we are stronger than you could ever imagine. So this is the place that we're going to be creating that with you. So make sure you get over and like it. And there's a couple of other things that that we invite you to help us with. So we need a little bit of help to really get this show going. And we're about to do a completely shameless plug. Totally shameless. We want to be number one on iTunes, and not because we've got ego in this, but because we want this movement to get out there and help as many women as we possibly can to be the most crazy, exceptional versions of themselves, where they are writing their life and dancing to the tune of their own song, not to what they think that they should be doing, where they can be the complete, full expressions of themselves, where they're completely comfortable in who they are, and that's the gift that they bring to the world. So in order to do that, we need a couple of things, please. We need one, please download us on iTunes, please like us on iTunes, and rate us. Please rate us, because that's the thing that's going to get us there. That's the thing that's going to get this message out across the world, that you're going to be part of us, or part of helping us grow it and get it out there. And then the second thing was... Actually,
the Facebook page.
That's right, like the Facebook group. So join the Facebook group. And then the third thing
is to ask all of your mates to do the same thing. So tell anyone that you think is also going to be of the same sort of mindset, who's also up for creating and growing and learning and trying stuff out in a really safe, awesome environment that looks to create a really safe space, not just for you as an individual, but for us as a collective tribe of women, and for us to really heighten the conscious awareness around what it is to be a woman in today's society. Dispel the crap myths. There's so many myths out there. So over the bullshit that we're being sold, and for a real place of honesty and truth. So if you know women who are like that, tell them about us. Tell them to invite, and tell them to listen to our podcast. Tell them to download. Tell them to join our Facebook group, because the more awesome women we have, the quicker this journey is going to be for all of us, and the more support we're going to feel, the more inspired we're going to feel.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So until our next episode, we look forward to joining you in the group, continuing this conversation.
Also, please hop over to Facebook. Let's continue this conversation. Let's really do that. Let's not just say that we're going to do it. Let's actually do it. This is awesome stuff.
Yep, and make sure once you're there, download your free gifts for joining us on the first episode, and please feel free to tell us great bottles of wine that you want us to sample, because we will sample it. We love...
Or cheese.
Or cheese, yeah, why not? Let's open it up.
And yeah, absolutely. So tell us anything that you want us to discuss, any questions that you have, any gaps that you have that you feel that you could do with a little support with, then please let us know. You can either private message us, Emily Chadbourne or Kelly Bowen, or you can contact us through the Facebook page and download this episode, share it with your mates, and enjoy your glass of wine, ladies.
Till next time, ladies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.